Right. The US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Origin of the US dollar. So it originated with the passage of the Coinage Act of 1792. And this act is what created the monetary system and established the first designs of the US currency. It was originally modeled after the Spanish dollar, and each coin was backed with metals like gold and silver. On the left is the Spanish dollar, and then on the right is the first US coin to be made. Okay. The US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency. It earned its status after World War II through the Bretton Woods Agreement, and this agreement is what set up a system that tied their money to the US dollar, which was backed by gold, and this helped stabilize the global economy after the war. This agreement positioned the dollar as the foundation of the global financial system. Regardless of the gold standard ending, the US dollar retained its standing due to the strength of the US economy. And then why is it the most held and used currency? We have a massive consumer market and we're rich in natural resources. It acts as a safe haven, so investors trust its stability. Many commodities are priced and traded in dollars, such as oil.
So the euro versus the yuan. So the history of the yuan, we may have to do that over. History of the yuan. The yuan, officially known as the renminbi or RMB, was introduced in 1948 by the People's Republic of China. It was introduced to replace various regional currencies during the Chinese Civil War. It became the sole legal tender in China after the PRC was established in 1949. Initially, it was tightly controlled. The yuan underwent significant reforms starting in the 1990s as China opened its economy to global markets. In 2015, the International Monetary Fund included the yuan in its special drawing rights basket, recognizing it as a global reserve currency.
You good?
Why is the yuan not as appealing as the dollar? The yuan, despite China's significant global economic presence, remains less appealing than the US dollar for several reasons. One key factor is China's strict capital controls, which limit the free flow of the yuan in international markets and restrict its use in global trade and as a reserve currency. Additionally, concerns about transparency in China's financial markets or regulatory frameworks further hinder its appeal. Critics often cite issues such as unreliable data, government intervention, and weak corporate governance as deterrents for global investors. Another limitation is the yuan's lack of full convertibility in the capital account, making it less practical for foreign investments and international financial transactions. Geopolitical tensions, particularly between China and the US, add to the uncertainty surrounding the yuan's reliability, while concerns over human rights and China's governance model also influence its global acceptance. Moreover, although China's financial markets are expanded rapidly, they are still less developed and liquid compared to those in the US. This reduces their attractiveness to investors. Finally, even though China is a leading global exporter, the dollar remains the preferred currency for trade invoicing and settlements. This includes Chinese transactions, further limiting the yuan's international role. The euro was introduced on January 1st, 1999, as an electronic currency for banking and financial transactions. It became a physical currency on January 1st, 2002, replacing national currencies in the Eurozone, which consists of 19 of the 27 European Union member states. The euro was created to foster economic integration, facilitate trade, and promote price stability within Europe. Its establishment marked a significant step in European integration, building on the European Economic Community and the Maastricht Treaty, which laid the groundwork for economic and monetary union. Why is the euro not as appealing as the dollar? Next slide. The euro, while being the second most held reserve currency globally, significantly lags the US dollar in terms of share, with the dollar comprising about 58% of global reserves compared to the euro's 20%. This disparity arises from the United States' historical economic stability, robust political institutions, and significant role in global trade and finance. The Eurozone's political fragmentation poses challenges as it comprises multiple countries with differing economic policies, growth rates, and priorities. This lack of a unified fiscal policy often leads to uncertainty, particularly during financial crises such as the Eurozone debt crisis from 2010 to 2012. The US economy surpasses the Eurozone in size and depth of capital markets, making it a more attractive option for the investment and international trade, including key commodities like oil. The perception of stability also favors the dollar, as the US Treasury market is the largest and most liquid globally, serving as a safe haven during periods of uncertainty. In contrast, structural imbalances among Eurozone member states contribute to periodic crises, diminishing the euro's appeal.
Here is a graph showing the global foreign reserves held by each country. As you can see, the US's proportion has dropped from 71.2% of reserves in 1999 to 58.4% in 2022, leaving room for other currencies. So how can the euro and the yuan increase their share of foreign currency reserves? You can do the next one. What would cause the euro's share of the IMF to increase? They could develop fiscal programs to promote foreign investing and to address the current regional nature of the euro. Additionally, the EU could create social and economic policies that foster collaboration among EU member states, i.e. language programs that would lessen the social differences from one country to the next. And finally, the EU could subsidize poorer regions of Europe to further unify and standardize the EU. By formalizing these policies, the EU will become more sustainable and therefore more attractive to foreign investors. Do the next slide. What would cause the yuan share of the IMF to increase? First of all, China could improve their fiscal transparency to lower apprehensions from wary investors. Second, they could also reduce or eliminate the current fiscal policies that constrain the yuan from moving freely in domestic and foreign markets. And China could continue to work on their underdeveloped market exchange. By improving transparency and allowing the yuan to move freely, China's financial market can begin to flourish. And as more foreign investors observe China's economy shifting to free and transparent model, they will begin to see the yuan as a more favorable reserve currency.
The dollar's continued dominance is attributed to the size and liquidity of the U.S. financial markets, its central role in international trade and finance, and the economic and institutional stability of the United States. The dollar accounts for roughly 58% of the global foreign exchange reserves, although these reserve holdings may actually be closer to 56% due to the dollar's appreciation in recent years. Although the absolute dominance of the dollar is unlikely to change in the coming decade, it's clear to see the dollar's relative strength has been declining since 2000. Even with this decrease in the foreign exchange reserves, the dollar still participates in 88% of foreign exchange transactions, which far outpaces other currencies like the euro at 20%, the yen at 6%, the British pound at 5%, and the Chinese renminbi at just 2.3%. BRICS could be a competitor for the dollar. It's an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's a group of emerging economies. It was established to promote economic cooperation and global influence among its members. Some of the focuses of this group is the de-dollarization. BRICS nations have sought to conduct more trade in their local currencies. This will reduce exposures to the dollar's fluctuations and sanctions. There have been discussions about creating a common BRICS currency to facilitate trade among the members, but this is still in the early stages. If this currency is developed, it may further decrease the dependency of the dollar for foreign trade. And some of the challenges to replacing the dollar is just the dollar remains the preferred global reserve currency due to the stability, liquidity, and the current trust in the U.S. Financial systems. BRICS economies have varying levels of development, financial systems, and monetary policies, making it hard to create a unified currency and just global trust. These foreign countries would need confidence in new currency, which could require decades of stable governance, consistent policy, and adoption by non-BRIC nations. What would have to occur for the dollar to lose its central role? You would need some economic uncertainty. Economically, the dollar would need to lose its dominance in international trade in key commodities like oil, where it's been the standard since the 1970s. Prolonged period of stagnation and declining GDP relative to other major economies, or reduced share of trade invoiced in dollars to weaken its role. International challenges like widening wealth gaps, civil unrest, or failure to address persistent inflation could also erode confidence in the US dollar. And political uncertainty. Politically, decline in the trust in the US political system or perceptions of misuse of financial power, such as through sanctions, could drive countries toward a non-dollar system. A lack of confidence in US institutions such as Federal Reserve or legal frameworks that uphold property rights and contracts could further weaken the dollar's appeal to foreign countries.
If the US dollar lost its status as the central currency, how would this affect the US economy and international business? There are three main effects that I found on how it affect the US economy. First one is imports becoming more expensive. The second one is the government would not be able to borrow at certain rates, resulting in a deficit that would need to be paid by increasing taxes or printing more money. And inflation would rise due to higher cost of imports and printing more money. Effects on international business itself. Trade deficits can worsen if imports exceed exports. This could lead to more outflow of US dollars to other countries. Another one is a higher demand for exports strengthens the dollar. Vice versa would be that if there's a lower demand, that means it would weaken the dollar. And then the last one would be if exports become cheaper, other countries may take advantage as they could see products from our country being at such like a discount compared to elsewhere.